Betances from Council Member Breo's office. All right, so Simoni's working on the panelists.
Hello? Yes, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Let me actually raise the volume. We're having a bit of an echo in the room. Can you say something now?
Yes, hello? Still?
All right. Thumbs up, is that okay for folks in the back? Okay. Well, we'll keep improving. Go ahead. You go ahead. We'll start your time now. Oh, it looks like he dropped off. Let's go to Edgar then from Senator Jackson's office, and then we'll come back to Oliver if he rejoins. Edgar, if you can hear us, you can go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, as of last week, we participated with different community organizations, including NEMIC. We joined VNS Health, Star Senior Center, Union Local 338. And of course, we partnered with Oyate Group, New York Presbyterian, Metro Plus, Spanglish Voices, all to make sure to distribute thousands of turkeys throughout Washington Heights and the west side of the Bronx. On top of that, we also have a few things regarding information about employment in different local institutions in Washington Heights, in Inwood, and in the Bronx. You can also check, you can also go to signup.senatorjackson.com for information on all these employment opportunities. We're talking about including, for example, Cabrini Immigrant Services, they're hiring, Community Board 7, there's a plethora of opportunities right now. And you can also, again, just tune into signup.senatorjackson.com for the information. We give this information out every week through our newsletter. And we also have a few more dates, including tonight, for tenants' rights clinics with the Met Council. And all that information is available there. And that'll be it.
Okay. Edgar, always on time. Edgar, always on time. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, thanks for putting your info in the chat for folks who are on Zoom and who would like it. And then if you're in person and do want any of our information from our reps, even if they're not in person, you can always reach out to the office. That's part of the role of community boards, linking you to our elected representatives, institutions, organizations. So count on the office for that. And I don't see Oliver back on. So I think we're gonna go to Porfirio. Ready? Okay, it's Porfirio's moment.
You. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Porfirio Figueroa, and I'm the community coordinator for the Manhattan Borough President's Office and liaison to community boards 11 and 12. I bring you greetings from Mark Levine. Our office completed its week-long community board leadership training series on November 13th through the 20th. It was really terrific to see many of you participate. Those 1-hour virtual training sessions provided both tools and instructions on best practices to manage meetings and engage everyday New Yorkers to learn more about the local government processes. Our in-person event at John Jay College was phenomenal. 166 people in tandem with the state's Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. But we have saved our most important session, Combating Implicit Bias, for Monday, December 4th at 5 p.m. So please sign up for this session. This is one of those that is required by the community board members. In addition, as part of our Thanksgiving giveaways, so that no New Yorker should go hungry during the holidays, the Manhattan Borough President's Office teamed up with the community partners, corporate sponsors, local elected officials to meet a much needed food assistance, including groceries, hot meals, turkey giveaways to over 2,000 Manhattanites all over the borough. The last one being in Washington Heights at PS 132 Juan Pablo Duarte. Shout out to Domingo, great operation. The Borough Board also passed a resolution at the October meeting to support the statewide right to counsel for all New Yorkers facing legal proceedings with Senate Bill S2721 and Assembly Bill A1493. That would guarantee the right to counsel for all tenants facing eviction in New York City. We additionally held a Borough Board public hearing for the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity at the November meeting. We have a volunteer corps, and so we're asking everyone to sign up. Our December event, which will be a day of action to help at God's Love We Deliver. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., the Manhattan Borough President's Office will be hosting a meeting with the Office of Cannabis Management, and we have sent that information to all the DMs, chairs, and any chairs of cannabis committees. Lastly, we are offering a CAP funding process training program, essentially a workshop for all schools on December 7th at 5 p.m. and not-for-profit city agencies on December 14th at 2 p.m. This is the flyer. It's in green, and I have placed them on the back. A special shout out to Steve Simon for helping us identify key places in Upper Manhattan for our day of action, in which we had our volunteer corps help clean up a section of Highbridge Park. That concludes my report. Yes, the date for the sessions is December 7th at 5 p.m. for any organization that works with or does any CAP funding for schools. And then the ones for working for and with nonprofit city agencies will be December 14th at 2 p.m.
Can you repeat on this question when she says it?
Okay, the question was, what the dates? Yes, Emily. That project is continual, and you can always send us any locations that you have identified, and so you can always email me. Sure.
Oh, you just say housing Manhattan.
Housing Manhattan.
Thank you. We just want to be consistent. All right, cool. That wraps that up. So I did get heads up that we do have quorum, and then I think Oliver's back. Is he? All right, so we're gonna go on to Oliver first. Oh, here he is. Yeah, he's in the attendees. If you can make him a panelist and.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I just had a few technical difficulties there, but luckily I don't have a long list, too much of a long list of updates. Not sure how much you guys heard, but I'll just start from the beginning. And so we were very delighted this Thanksgiving to deliver more than 600 turkeys to the community, and of course we look forward to continuing the giving back during this holiday season. And on that note, we would like to flag that the Councilmember Abreu is organizing a toy drive for kids in our district. And so we're encouraging folks to participate and spread the word. Please stop by our district office in West Harlem by December 20th to drop off new and unwrapped toys and games, which will then be delivered to partnering organizations to distribute just in time for Christmas. We also want to put two events that are happening next Wednesday, December 6th, on the radar. And the first one is the Right to Counsel rally. And so the Councilmember Abreu will be passing an important resolution strengthening the right to counsel protections for tenants. This resolution calls on the state to pass a bill requiring that any party eligible for free legal counsel for an eviction proceeding be granted additional time by the court to obtain an attorney. This would slow down the pace of eviction cases being filed in court and allow tenants to secure the representation they are legally entitled to. Before the stated meeting, the Councilmember Abreu will be holding a rally with stakeholders, tenant organizations, and fellow council members in City Hall Park at 11 a.m. to champion the resolution and the demand for the right to counsel. Next event that's happening just later on the same day, December 6th, and this will be a composting rally with the Councilmember Abreu, and he will be joining the We Act for Environmental Justice, and that will be for a rally to save community composting from budget cuts. As we all may know, composting contributes to a more livable city with fewer rats, cleaner streets, and healthier soils, all while cutting waste destined for landfills or incinerators. So please join the Councilmember Abreu and We Act in City Hall Park at 1 p.m. for this rally. That'll be all for my updates. Thank you all, and please reach out to our office whenever you need to. We'll be there for you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, we have one question, Oliver, from Steve Simon. Steve, if you can say it really loud, and then I'll repeat it back into the mic for everyone.
Oliver, what is the date of that City Hall rally, and what is the point of it?
Oliver, the question was, when is the date for the City Hall rally, and what's the point of it?
So there will be two rallies happening today, the Right to Counsel rally and the composting rally. Of course, the Right to Counsel rally, the purpose is to strengthen the resolution and to really fight for and call on the state to pass the bill that requires any party eligible for legal counsel facing an eviction proceeding be granted additional time by the court to obtain an attorney. And so it seems that now folks who are needing the legal counsel aren't getting that in time because the demand is so high, and the pace that they're coming isn't in conjunction with the amount of lawyers that are available for folks to obtain. But if you're asking about the composting rally,
the date and time, can you send the flyer to the excuse me, the information to sorry, the CB12 office or in the chat, Oliver?
Sure. I'll speak to our director of communications for the flyer, but I can certainly just generalize it on the chat. But I'll forward it to you when I get it. The flyer.
Okay, sorry, and just to repeat, it was 1 o'clock on what date?
So December 6th, 11 a.m. is the Right to Counsel rally, December 6th at 11, and then right after at 1 p.m. is the composting rally, December 6th.
So December 6th, 11 a.m. Right to Counsel, 1 p.m. composting.
Yes.
Both in City Hall Park?
And they are both at City Hall Park, if you can clarify?
Yes. Yep. It's both at City Hall Park.
Okay. Two topics that CB12 voted resolutions on this year, just FYI. All right, cool. So that concludes the portion from our elected officials. As I was moving to say, we got quorum early in the night, so thank you, everyone. So I'm going to officially call the meeting to order at 7:12 p.m. And I would like to know if there is a motion to adopt the agenda. I saw Liz and then seconded by, or vice versa, sorry, moved by Robin, seconded by Liz. Thank you. Is there anybody in abstention or in opposition? All right, hearing none, we adopt tonight's agenda. Okay, we're gonna move on to our public session. Public session sign up time passed at 7 p.m. We have 4 names tonight. So we're gonna start with our folks who are in person, because a lot of people have been talking on Zoom. So we're gonna start with Chalia Orellana, speaking on behalf of Assembly Bill A06197, Chalia, and then we're going to go with Valeska from Harlem Commonwealth. Okay, sure. So she could stand, oh yeah, the podium, yeah. Get cozy on the chair. All right. Thank you and hello to everyone. My name is Chalia Orellana. I am a resident of Washington Heights. I'm also a student at the CUNY School for Public Health, working my way towards my master's degree. So I'm here to discuss the Assembly Bill A06197, which is a Mothers and Infants Lasting Change Allowance.
This bill aims to address childhood poverty, which has a lasting impact on many children and their families. In 2022, the Census Bureau reported that there were 9 million children living in or below federal poverty line, just within the United States. And there are many factors to why children are living in poverty. Some are cuts to social service programs, like the decision not to expand the child tax credit. Also, the high cost of living, which I'm pretty sure a lot of us are experiencing right now, just living here in New York City. Safety net programs are essential to reducing poverty rates and improving maternal and child outcomes. So if this bill is passed, it will first serve as a pilot program that will give mothers and their children unrestricted funds. This can help alleviate the rate of childhood poverty we are seeing in this country and in New York State. This bill allows for families to utilize the money as they see fit. So if a family needs to use the money for rent or medical expenses, basic needs, even on education, they can do just that. Similar programs to these have been established in other states, which many families have reported the positive benefits it has had on their lives. And overall, this bill allows for more flexibility and lets each family apply the funds to the highest needs in their life. So I just wanted to speak on it and kind of inform everyone that this bill was introduced to the Assembly, and if it gains more support, it can pass and it can have positive impacts on the children in our lives, families that we see day to day. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're sitting right next to the perfect people, our chair for youth and our chair for health. So you should connect with them. All right, next up, we have Valeska, I forgot your last name, but Valeska from Harlem Commonwealth with a very important resource.
Hi, good evening. My name is Valeska Rodriguez Ferreira, very long name, representing NYC's Business Solution in Washington Heights area. Yes, I'm sitting on Harlem Commonwealth, but yeah, Isidro is one of my representative there as well. My topic today is cannabis. As you know, MRTA, or the Marijuana Regulation and Tax Act, legalized cannabis for New York in March 2021. Since then, the OCM, or the Office of Cannabis Management, have opened adult use licenses for processor, cultivators, processors, retails, and micro businesses as opening licenses. The application opened on October 4th and is closing on December 18th. I'm one of the cannabis account executives, so my role will be to guide all the applicants over the application process, guide everyone that is interested and will like more resources on that business matter, and then also help all the socioeconomic equity areas in New York, especially Washington Heights, that we are the highest community disparate impact. So it means that we're the one that is being more affected by the prohibition of cannabis. Sorry, one more thing. So after the approval or the application process and you're waiting for the approval, we also assist on understanding regulation, business planning, and connect business owner to resources. We do one-on-one technical assistance sessions. And if you need more information or have any questions about it, you can reach the Cannabis NYC or cannabis@sba.nyc.gov. And that was her.
Thanks. So Valeska, you're at 181? On 181st is where you are?
Well, I'm sitting on Harlem Commonwealth,
Okay.
but I'm covering from 168.
Okay, got
So
it.
that
All
is
right. So
kind
for
of
folks
confusing.
who may not have caught that on Zoom or in person, Valeska's covering or supporting folks through the cannabis license application process from 168th Street up, and it's free, right? It's free. So for folks who are looking for application assistance, and when's the deadline to apply? December 18th is the deadline. So Valeska is who people need to connect with. All right, and she got the flyers in the back for folks who are in person. If not, we'll try to disseminate that for sure via the listserv. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, and with that, we're gonna move on to folks in, is a clarifying question, remember? Well, oh, okay. Yeah, come on down, come on down, come on down. Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, I spoke. All right, sorry, we got one more in person. She's jogging. All right.
I thought someone from WEAC would be here, so I'm just doing it for them. Okay, so WEAC for Environmental Justice is going to have a New York Heat rally. That's basically gathering with lawmakers, fellow advocates of Manhattan, so that they could pass this really important bill, and it has to do, let me see, let me read this real quick. Okay, so utility rate hikes are pummeling New Yorkers, and the rates are actually raising above $40 more than what they normally pay. So New York Heat is going to, WEACT is going to have a rally about New York Heat, which is the name of the bill, so that everyone could get together on November 30th at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. at City Hall Park. If you want to know more information about this, please contact Annie Carfaro from WEACT. It's ANNIE@WEACT.org, so that you could get together with her and other residents of Upper Manhattan so that they could push this New York Heat bill. But there's so much to read. So
No, it's okay. Thank you. We got it. Yeah, I know Rebecca was supposed to come. All right, so we're gonna go on to online, and we're gonna start with Lisa, who is the board president for the Morris Jamel Mansion. One second, Lisa, we're just gonna. You gotta make me a co-host. Let me see. It's frozen entirely. One second, let me see who else is here. Hold on one second, folks. All right, we're going. All right, Lisa. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, splendid. Thanks for the time. I'm Lisa Koenigsberg, and I'm the president of the board at the Morris Jamel Mansion. And I wanted to speak to extend a heartfelt invitation to all to join us for what is called a virtual parlor chat. It's a webinar that we do monthly. And on December 20th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m., the mansion will host a virtual parlor chat that explores the major restoration project to which we have been steadfastly devoted for a good number of years. And we will welcome not only representation from the mansion, but from Paige Ayers Cowley, Associates, PACA is the acronym. They're the architects for the project, HHT, and the City of New York. And we are really looking forward to the opportunity to share with you this exciting project and to further our advocacy for the project, to which we're so deeply committed. So we hope that everyone will join us. It will be on our website. It will be posted. There will be flyers. But I also wanted to be sure to appear virtually, albeit virtually, here to extend an invitation to all.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate that. Next up, we have Odette Wilkins from Wired Broadband.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Odette Wilkins from Wired Broadband. I'm President and General Counsel, and I work on the 5G issue here in New York City. And I just want to let you know that historic preservation review on 5G towers are now underway in New York City. And I reported that on the last meeting. This is required under federal law by City Bridge. CB12 is slated to get 73 5G towers. This is your only opportunity, your only chance to object to the placement of 5G towers in your historic districts or near your historic structures. You will not have another chance at this. The time to submit comments is only within 30 days from the date that City Bridge submits its application to the State Historic Preservation Office. This is the time to apply as consulting parties. Now, they are also accepting comments from the general public, even if you're not a consulting party. But if you're a consulting party, you have access to the entire database of all the sites in New York City. Now, Washington Heights history is steeped in the American Revolutionary War and is particularly relevant here. And depending on the proposed site locations, can be brought to bear to help prevent the 5G installations in your historic districts. We have developed a reference guide, which I can put in the chat. And we've also held a recent town hall by experts about how to file comments to City Bridge and to the State Historic Preservation Office. You right now have 13 sites that are in play. 3 are due in 2 days. And that's 2178 and 2194 Amsterdam Avenue and 800 West 181st Street. There are others that are due on December 4th, December 11th, and December 28th is 689 Fort Washington Avenue. There are 2 locations, 100 Overlook Terrace and 74 Nagel Avenue, that unfortunately the comment period has ended. Again, you can comment as a general public for the 11th, for those that are due in a couple of days from now on November 30th. And I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much, Odette, for the information. That's time. We do have your info also from the chat we disseminated.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. That concludes the public session. Yeah.
Just a quick clarifying question for Odette. Has she provided the community board the information on how to apply the consulting party?
Let me repeat, Odette, I'm gonna repeat the question back into the microphone from one of our board members and to clarify one. Have you provided to the community board how members of the public can register to be, how the community board, excuse me, how community boards can be consulting parties?
Yes, I have been doing that since last spring, and I've been sending consistent communications to the community boards and to the community boards district managers, including yours, on this issue. We do have a recently updated one that I believe we also did send out 1 or 2 weeks ago. So I can put that in the chat, and it is an entire reference guide that the people at Save Gansevoort and an expert in this area have put together, including myself, in order to give you all the information you need to become a consulting party. But with respect to the ones for 1130, you don't have time to become a consulting party. You need to just put in your comments as part of the general public, and that also those instructions are also in the reference guide.
Yep, perfect, thank you. All right. So with that, no, we got, oh no, it's, sorry, we didn't add it to the slides. If you want, we could stop the screen sharing. Actually, leave it, it might be too much. No, because one of the items we have next, it's not on the screen, but obviously we all know it is November. It is that time of year, and it is on our agenda tonight. And that's our report from our nominating committee and floor nominations. So we're gonna welcome down Leo Jimenez, the chair for our nominating committee. For folks of the public who are watching, just a quick context. Community Board 12 has elections for our elected officers every single year. And so in November, we hear from the committee. We also take nominations, and next month is when we vote. So Leo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. It's always good to see your beautiful faces in person. As Madam Chair said, elections is upon us. I want to thank Anthony, Mancita, Carmen, and Danny for their communication, outreach, and just making the process a little bit more seamless. As you know, the process entails that we have to reach out to board members. Sometimes it can get a bit hectic, especially since most people work, not all of us. So I appreciate you guys. Also, Nobles, Daryl, and Kathy, thank you guys for your feedback and input and making my first time a bit easier. So with the process, just to give you a little background. So in order for you to qualify to be nominated, you have to be a board member for a full year. You have to have attended 67% of your board, general board meeting and committee meetings. As you know, general board elections are held in December. This year we'll be distributing paper ballots and e-ballots as well. E-ballots for our eligible participants on Zoom. The rest of you guys will vote here in person through paper or e-ballot. You must be in attendance unless, again, you qualify or you're eligible to be hybrid. So in order for you to vote, you have to be in person. You have to account your attendance in person. So please keep in mind, if you're on the nom-com, you're not eligible to run. So I'm sorry, Anthony, Carmen, Danny, Mancita, for the most part, they're newer. So maybe next year. All right, so all officers are seeking one-year term. The term starts January 1st, ends December 31st. This year, all our e-board members qualify to rerun for re-election. They only served one term, so there's no term limits. So upon receiving and confirming the board members' attendance from the board office, we reached out to all eligible members through calls, texts, and emails. In conjunction and collaboration with Kathy and the e-board, we also provided interested members with an officer's role overview, and that went out a couple of weeks ago. So without further ado, our nominees are, we don't have a nominee or anybody interested in assistant secretary or secretary, so that's vacant. For treasurer, Michelle Lee is the incumbent. She will be running again. For second vice chair, Darryl Cochran is the incumbent as well, and Jermina Akbar has thrown her hat into the ring. Jermina Akbar. For vice chair, si Maria Hernandez is the incumbent. She will again run for a position. And lastly, Kathy Diaz, our chair, Madam Chair, is running uncontested. So at this time, we'll open up nominations from the floor. We don't need to second nominations. And if an attendee is not here, a board member, eligible board member is in attendance, you can nominate them, and they have about a week and a half to reach out to me, or I'll reach out to them to confirm if they accepted the nomination. Yeah. For assistant secretary or secretary, no nominations. You did a great job, Liz. What am I saying? So we're opening up the floor for nominations. For assistant secretary, any nominations? Liz, do you accept your nominations?
Yeah.
I think Noble has a nomination. Noble's.
No, it's the speakers that should be back. I'm like, I could be your co-job.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate ChatGPT. You can figure it out, right?
That's good. Yeah, it is.
For secretary, shout out to the secretaries.
OC did a great job as well.
Wait, we got a point of order. We have a point of order.
Seriously, ChatGPT. Figure it out.
Point of order. So we gotta go to, yeah, maybe that's it.
Certain levels is where you have to be a member of the board, probably you have to be a human being.
If we don't get any nominations today, we'll open up the floor again to the during the December general board meeting. If we haven't found anybody interested in partaking, we'll have an election in January, I guess, right? Special election.
Every month.
I'd like to nominate Juliana for secretary.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have you want to run for a position, you can't run for it. So I believe Jim Mina is running for second vice chair.
I totally understand how that works, and I'm very intentional in my.
That's it is.
I'd like to nominate Alexis Murnau for secretary.
I'm sorry, at this time, Alexis, you're not eligible because you haven't been on the board for 4 years.
Yo, you could.
We got Marielle in there.
But January, suggest you throw your hat in the ring.
No, she needs more.
She need more? June.
She needs more.
I'd like to nominate Jacob Hannes for secretary.
Yeah, Jacob, you are eligible. He respectfully declines. Yes, Eliza. I respectfully declines.
Okay, got 2 more before we keep it going.
Thank you so much, but I respectfully decline.
So just to give a little, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Anthony Nova.
Anthony is part of the NOMCOM, so he is not eligible for nominations this election.
And he also doesn't have 12 months.
Yeah, he has a 12 months.
No. Oh, wait, 1 more.
I'd like to nominate Domingo for secretary.
So we'll close the nominations at this point. Oh, go ahead, Jamila.
Is there anybody on Zoom? Yes. No, that's me.
Yes.
I'd like to nominate for secretary and assistant secretary, whichever one you prefer.
Emily, you are eligible. Yeah, so yes, you have to the December general board meeting to consider.
Get a lot of secretaries to talk to if you wonder what it's like.
Any other nominations from the floor? Madam Chair, this time we'll close nominations from the floor.
For secretary and assistant secretary.
Oh, sorry, secretary and assistant secretary.
So now, we need to ask for second, first nomination.
So anybody, any nominations for treasurer from the floor? Yeah, Michelle is the incumbent. She's running. Okay, we'll close that one as well. Any additional nominations from the floor for a second vice chair? Domingo? I agree. Robin,
To nominate Joel Durham.
Joel, do you accept the nomination? Second vice chair.
Second vice chair, I accept the nomination.
Joel is in for second vice chair.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna close second vice chair. For vice chair, any nominations from the floor?
For first.
For first vice chair,
It's the speaker, it's the speaker.
So for second vice chair,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
who's currently running for second vice chair?
Jermina and Darrell.
So I rescind my, I rescind it. Thank you.
Okay.
Joel has rescinded his nomination.
Sorry about
Anybody else for first vice chair? We're closing that as well. And lastly, for chair of the board. Any nominations from the floor? Okay, we're closing that one off. And that is the end of my report. Perfect.
All right, thank you, Leo. And again, committing, we have a nominating committee of lots of brand new board members, who stepped up and participating in other ways, which is really great. All right, we're gonna go on to our committee resolutions. I'm gonna ask for our committee chairs to come on down to the podium mic, given the feedback that we've gotten. So we have a total of 10 tonight. And we're gonna go with traffic and transportation, and we have 2 resolutions before us.
Hi, all. Thank you, Kathy and Ford. I know it's like you're always doing a lot of work, and I know it's probably been double with the office staff being not really here. And to the nominating committee. I know it's a big process as well. The first resolution that I want to talk about is the one regarding changes to the M3 bus route to address loss of service. This is an issue that goes back to October of 2022. I want to say this entire resolution is a result of leadership by Mary Anderson and the agent committee in conjunction with traffic and transportation. There was a huge outcry when a bus stop at St. Nicholas and 193rd on the northbound M3 bus route up St. Nicholas was eliminated in October 2022. The elimination of that bus stop related to there were street changes, so it basically made the U-turn maneuver that buses were doing up towards the end of the line like impossible. So it wasn't one of those things like you could easily put the spot back. Because now buses come up St. Nicholas and they have to turn east on 190th. The problem is that if you can think and look at the picture on the resolution, that by not being able to get off the bus at 193rd, you're affecting a lot of people and a lot of seniors who are heading towards Fairview and Fort Churchill, etc. Mary's committee dealt a lot with the number of North buildings in that area. But the really wonderful thing about the reaction and the action on the part of all the people affected was they came with some interesting ideas and compromises, and that's what you see in the resolution here, which is that we feel that if you bring the terminus of the bus route further south, you can at least address some of the impact on people who now just added like at least 4 blocks to their walk. So that's that one. Actually, maybe should I take questions one at a time or should I just present? Does anybody have any questions on that one? Okay, you can say this.
No, oh, that's how the magic
Yes.
happens. Wayne?
So, Debbie, is the recommendation basically to move the terminus of the Fort George Hill to as far south as possible to where it used to be?
Kinda, yeah. Kinda, yeah. And in fact, we wouldn't even mind, what we're trying to say at the end is, if you took like the first stop on the southbound, that's fine too, because there's another stop really close by. So. Yeah, we're leaving them to find their best thing. As people know, I mean, the problem with the terminus now,
It's remote.
it's so remote. And it's actually not particularly closer than if you got off at 189.
What are the next one? I don't see on.
Okay. So next up, in 2013, apparently, this board asked DOT with assistance at the intersection of 165th Street and Riverside Drive. This is a really complicated intersection because you're dealing with an immense amount of traffic heading westbound on 165th, desperately trying to get to the George Washington Bridge. And for any pedestrians trying to get into the park, the dog run, just basically across Riverside Drive, there was one crosswalk on the north, not on the south. What does that mean? The north, again, hundreds and hundreds of people zipping towards the George Washington Bridge, and you're just taking your chances across the slip lane. So not only is there a lot of injuries or some fatalities, but some of this stuff is going down when people are actually trying to do the right thing. So this is an issue that the DOT has really looked at a lot, and there's not a good way to untie the knot. And then they just did another push at our request and came to us with what was a largely very elegant solution to a lot of the problems. But part of the solution was to eliminate the ability to turn right on 165th when you're coming uptown on Riverside. And then, so then when you say, well, but there's nowhere to turn off, like it's not like the street's right there. So where would people go? And then they described an over-hill-over-dale route that involved turning right like you were a BX6 around 161st Street. That's just kind of like a U-turn. Then going down to 158, where at best you're trying to take your life in your hands with like a 7-way intersection. And then take the upper roadway, which barely can handle the 3 cars that use it every day. And so that was like a hard no. So what they, a subset of the committee, including Jody Person and Bruce and Jim, and Julio Batista from the hospital and DOT, walked it again. And there are no good answers here. But I don't know who in that group came up with an idea. The DOT is like, we can try to look at it. We don't know if it'll work. But in a sense, the idea would be where the upper roadway and Riverside come together at 165th. That you basically kind of pull back where they merge a little bit south so that the people on Riverside have an ability to move right to make the right. So the closest thing I can think of when you imagine this is up at like, is it around 219th or 218th, where you're on like, like 10th Avenue, and you kind of like, you sort of merge together by the bus depot before you get onto Broadway. That's the closest I can come up with. So what they said was, if you could give us a resolution telling us what you liked and what you didn't like, because in a sense we didn't do a resolution on what they had presented prior, because we couldn't, because of the problem. So what you have here is a resolution asking them, telling them, you know, generally we like things, but we could not live with the detour down to 158th and then back up to 165th to make the right. So that's what this is. And this has a picture too. And thank you, Liz, for friendly amendments that you passed to me beforehand. Yeah, Liz.
Politely to include in the red though, what were you thinking? Like,
Well, yeah.
I get that it's a problem intersection, but eliminating that right is just.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna work. I think that they had, I mean, there's so much turnover over there. I think what was interesting was like, the guy who's been working on it is excellent. He's been at this for 10 years. I mean, you're dealing with federal regulations, you know, you can't make, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, and then you try that. And so I think he knew it was gonna be a problem, but I mean, it was really like the closest we've come, and there were a lot of other good things that came out of it after 10 years of trial and error. Anyway, but so yeah, I don't know. What can we do? Yeah, you know, he's trying. We're just, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Jay, you have a question? You can repeat the question. I'm so sure.
What I'm trying to understand is we're showing where 5 is, that's where the sign is. What about the lane right next to that? Can you turn right on there?
That's a good question. So the question was, we can see where you can't turn where it says 5, so from Riverside Drive, but can you turn from the upper roadway? And the answer is yes, but all the traffic is on the main Riverside. That upper roadway really doesn't hold traffic. You know, it's like so narrow. So like the idea that, so you couldn't turn from Riverside because there's not enough room now that they would be adding a crosswalk, and like legally you can't do that. Whatever, you couldn't put it together. So literally you would do this huge circle to end up exactly where you just said on the upper roadway to make it right. But you would have gone down to 158 and come back up. So it was a non-starter. So
I just one more. I mean, I'm a biker, not a car rider, so for me, the whole point was for safety, and it's just like when they did that thing on 181st with the bus lanes, you know, you have to turn just to get through. Like the people who regularly do this would at some point realize if you want to turn right, you got to get on that side. So I don't know why we're discouraging this completely just because of traffic.
Steve?
Hold up.
Oh. Sorry, go ahead. Oh.
Well, first, the word whereas. In the line here is many pedestrians crossing or occurring without a crosswalk. Maybe read better to say many pedestrians crossing without a crosswalk. And that you make pedestrians go into use the car. Okay. Now this one report. Okay, and in the fifth whereas I would add New York Presbyterian Green Hospital. It's a separate entity from the medical staff.
Okay, got it. That actually, Jody might have had that in the beginning. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, the merging of 218 is a pretty bad example. I think we were talking about that because during rush hour, that's going to become a cluster because a lot of people use Riverside to be able to try to avoid a lot of traffic on the West Side Highway. So I'm not sure, like, you're just gonna gridlock that whole area. Yeah, I'm not sure, because 218 has less people than what would be coming through there during rush hour. And most of them are not people that are even from New York, which is people that are avoid traffic, they all that. So
It's a real long shot for those reasons. I agree. I don't think there's enough room. And so we have less room, higher traffic. I agree, but we're taking our shot. Liz?
No, we gotta go.
Oh.
So there are some intersections, maybe an ideal intersection will have crosswalk, will have 4 crosswalks. But there are some intersections that have, and as someone who has spent a considerable amount of time recently in other cities that have resolved pedestrian and traffic flow issues in a different way. One of the things that's pretty common at a high traffic, difficult pedestrian intersection is to have one that goes north-south and one that goes east-west. So one possible solution is to make sure that there is, a better, more effective crosswalk at the north end of the intersection, which is already there, and to add a good and effective crosswalk at the eastern side, and not try to put a crosswalk on the southern side. And that way you can have unimpeded northbound traffic and northbound traffic turning right onto 165th Street without getting into any federal issues about requirements of crosswalk or whatever, because they're not adding a crosswalk at the southern end. So if you have a good northern crosswalk and a good eastern crosswalk, you can have some decent pedestrian traffic, and it balances the biking needs, the pedestrian needs, and the automobile.
No, that's responding like how it turns out the problem is the crosswalk, the problem is actually, even if you don't put a crosswalk there, they can't do the right turn anyway. Because the people can't merge to the right, get to where they need the right turn, because there's that median anyway. And so to get them to the deeper side of the median, to allow people on the other side drive to get to the right. So the problem wasn't the crosswalk. But I agree with you, and
Okay, everybody write that down.
All right, thanks, Debbie, for all the work and everyone. Sorry to cut you off, Jim. I was just gonna say that you were the last one speaking here now, before we go to licensing.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So I do have a very short report, but I would like to emphasize that if you know a business, a restaurant, bar, or lounge, they should attend this meeting with SLA Commission. It's the first time that Washington Heights and Inwood will have attendance of the Commissioner Lynn Fan. And it will be critical that you attend, because in essence, you can ask direct questions. And sometimes, we have issues in the community that perhaps the community board cannot address. So this visit will be critical to address all these questions and concerns. So please do attend on the 11th, Casa del Mofongo, starting at 2. And obviously the bid is sponsoring this event as well. So please attend. From the licensing committee, pleased to announce that practically I have nothing to report. In essence of our conflict, there are no issues, no tough agendas. There were no stipulations that required for any business to bring any documentations. We did have a couple of withdrawals, and those that were rejected because they did not come to the licensing committee and or did not bring the proper documentations. I must say that based on recommendations from our committee, starting January 1st, the licensing committee is going to request that every single applicant that comes to the community board will have at least 2 stipulations, which will be not at expense of the restaurant. They will not have to spend a penny, but we're going to request that every single applicant should have a good neighbor sign. They should also have a phone number displayed at the establishment in case there are problems and issues, so that those problems can be rectified right then and then. We believe that by having those stipulations in place for everyone, we're going to dismiss or eliminate some of our concerns. And the reason why we want to do that is that when we come to different establishments, I know that you probably would notice that most of them will not have posted the good neighbor sign as we require. So it will be like a sign to see who's complying with some of our steps. And, you know, we should really be concerned about those that are not, or who will not be, you know, just complying with the request, because it will tell us that something inside might also be going on. We only see the visual, but there are issues and stipulations that are going to be required to new applicants that perhaps they'll not be in compliance. So it will be a sign for us just to make sure that they address these issues to prevent problems in the future. On that note, Madam Chair, I'm going to go to the floor for questions. Stay silent.
Is the good neighbor sign bilingual?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
The good neighbor sign.
Yes, the good neighbor sign are bilingual, Spanish and English. If we can do another language, I'm sure we can do it as well.
I'm not very clear with the good neighbor sign. Can you elaborate on ways?
So we request that each applicant will have the good neighbor sign, and the reason for that is the content will say that for all the patrons who are around the establishment to please keep the voice down and or not to hang around in front of the establishment, in essence. I see Wayne.
For resolution number 6, is this an existing establishment that is getting new ownership?
Correct. And it's a new ownership, but they're going to keep the same management. So in essence, the experience is there as far as like handling alcohol, and that's why we did not request any steps.
And what's the reputation of the existing establishment in terms of resident feedback?
So there were no negative feedback from the residents. Unfortunately, the 34th precinct was not present. Based on previous resolutions, there was no objection by this community board previously, so there are no negative comments.
What's the activity like I did at the current management? They look about everything is no compared to action that is happening. Help distribute food to the elderly and right on, and they're doing. They always survive.
I see no other questions. Shout out to Asimari for providing the minutes. Thank you so much, Asimari. Thank you, Chair.
Go. Oh, Rocky had a question, excuse me about that. What is the first stipulation? Oh, sorry, Indiana. You had a business tonight with the stipulation. It was just a good neighbor sign?
There were no steps.
Oh, there were no stipulations, if that's clear for members on Zoom. If there's something that's unclear, we're about to move to a vote. So if there's something that's unclear for folks on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand and Isidro can respond. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna take votes. What we're going to do is pass the mic unless you're determined for steps. So we're just gonna go, let's say we'll start with Jay. Jay says their name into the microphone, says their vote, and then we'll keep passing it around. And then, Jimmy, you ready? Oh, sorry, before we start the vote, I have an announcement. I forgot, sorry. Last month, while, sometimes I think a lot of our ambiance gets to be, lighthearted, we don't necessarily always get to see each other. Last month, our lightheartedness got a little bit out of hand. So I wanted to publicly apologize to, Jim, because part of what, it was a mistake on my behalf in terms of saying whether or not someone signed in or not, and I didn't mean for my tone to come across as if it was placing blame or anything of that nature. So I wanted to publicly apologize for that, and I wanted to also acknowledge that because each month when we're doing our roll call, we're not necessarily going always in the order, and so that affected that communication between the secretary and myself. So I just wanted to publicly share that Jim Berlin did in fact sign in, and that mistake was on my part. You're very welcome, Jim. Accountability. All right, we can start the votes.
The record shows that it's a rare mistake that never has been.
Okay, so folks, we're gonna start with the room first. So folks are gonna say their first and last name, and then their vote. So we'll let you know for Zoom when we transition. I'm sorry. Are folks been able to hear me? I just realized we were on. Yeah, no, sorry, it worked. It's just because on the podium it goes off. So John, we're gonna go to Zoom vote. So Jonathan, if you're free.
Was that Catherine? Say that again. Sorry.
Oh, we're doing voting. Okay, let me go to Tanisha then next. Let's try Indiana, right there? Yeah.
I vote yes.
Okay, yes to all.
Yes to all, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Radia?
Yes to everything.
Thank you. Tanisha, Jonathan, you're around?
Okay, sorry. Now I'm connected. Sorry. My mic was some issue. I vote yes for all as well.
Okay, yes to all. I'll message Tanisha separately. See if we can get her vote. All right, in the meantime, I think we can move forward then, I guess, to our reports. So I'm gonna ask folks to please come on down. We'll start with our first group. Public safety step out, so we're gonna go to business development. We'll bring the mic up to Mary, and then Marielle, if you want to come on down soon.
We good? We good? Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Abreu. I'm the Business Development Committee Chair. We had a very successful, very important meeting this November regarding outdoor dining. So outdoor dining is one of the good things that came out of the pandemic. Originally, it was an emergency act, open restaurants. But just recently, a couple of months ago, during the summer, Mayor Adams wrote into law the Dining Out NYC. It repealed the Emergency Act, but gave us a more permanent program for restaurants to be able to create these outdoor structures. Also, quick shout out to Radia and Bruce for showing up. Thank you so much in person. But this program, there's a couple of highlights about this program. We had Mr. Robert Bookman from the New York City Hospitality Group show up and kind of give us a presentation and an outlook into what it is these new regulations are about. So I'm just going to give you guys a few highlights of these programs, and I'll be quick, I promise. So first of all, DOT is overseeing these regulations. It's not the Consumer Affairs. They're going to oversee the regulations, the enforcement of these new regulations. This is something new to them. So it is going to be kind of a learning curve. Also, originally, these sidewalk licenses were for businesses that were below 96th Street. They're extending it through, for the whole city. They're 8 to 12 months, for 8 months out of the 12 months in the year. Licenses will be for 4 years. Applications are set to begin in January. So they're going to open up the applications for January. The grace period for switching from emergency kind of structures to the new regulations is November of next year. So you have a whole year to kind of adapt to these new regulations. But again, applications should start in January. That's where DOT is aiming to roll out these applications. So to all your constituents, all other people that you know that own businesses, tell them they have a year to adapt or to apply for the license in January. The public hearing was held on the 20th, and public comment deadline was on the 20th. So if you had any comments, it's a little bit too late now, but during the committee, I did mention that. Also, it's less expensive per square feet to rent these spaces. And the application fee is $10.50 for sidewalk cafes and $10.50 for roadway cafes for the application. Yeah, it's great. It's a great thing that's happening. It's new in terms of regulations, but it definitely gives new life to an industry that's in much need. So, any questions? Isidro.
Just a comment,
Yes.
this application, so this applicants, if they're going to serve alcohol, they gotta come to the line community as well. Just, listen.
Yeah, just so everybody hears, the licensing, a part of the licensing application is to go through the community board and through the licensing committee. Isidro, obviously it runs that board, so it's gonna go through that committee. So thank you, Isidro. Appreciate that. Leo? Repeat that, I couldn't hear you. Repeat it.
Existing structures has come back down by November. Now it's more uniform.
Correct. So the question is if the existing structures have to come down, and yes, assuming that your structures do not follow the new regulations, and a lot of them do because they have like, it looks like mini houses, a lot of them, especially in our neighborhood. It's like, it looks like an extension. So these new regulations are definitely prohibit that and are more like tents for the roadways and for the side cafes. So they have to come down, assuming they don't follow code, which most of them don't. Yes.
So let's say I had a structure like that, but I decided not to apply. Does anybody care that then I'm keeping up my house until next November, even though I have no intent, or is there a point at which if I'm not applying, I've got to remove my?
So the grace period is up to November of next year, right? For everyone, everything has to change by November. The application should roll out, 24th, I believe, yes. So everything has to change by that day, but the new application is rolling out in January. Now, these things have to come out by then. So that's a good question. So the question is if you get fined. So DOT, I don't know if you guys can hear me. DOT is actually overseeing the enforcement. They do not have an enforcement kind of arm. This is new to them. And this is what Mr. Robert Bookman was telling me, that kind of a learning curve for this agency. So yes, enforcement is through DOT, and yes, you'll get there's a warning first, and then you'll get a subsequent fine. I don't know what the fine is. I would have to get back to you. I want to see. I will get back to you on the actual nominal amount. Right. Yeah.
Indiana, then we got him.
Oh, okay. Hi, Indiana.
Hi.
Hey.
I just wanted to voice something that while it is really great that they've extended this into a permanent program, there are a lot of businesses that say that they're not going to be able to take advantage of it because they don't have a place to store the, I guess, outdoor dining tents and tables and things like that on the months that it doesn't, I guess it's the winter months that it's not allowed to run. So just wanted to put that on the record that a lot of, especially smaller businesses and businesses in communities of color are worried that they won't really be able to take advantage of it.
And thank you for saying that, Indiana. Robert Bookman did mention that there's, and you guys can tag me on this business idea, but there's two big business ideas that are in the forefront. One is just that, to store these temporary structures. Businesses currently are doing that. There's businesses that will build it for you and take it down for you. And secondly, these designs are very specific. If you look at the drawings, that's a second kind of business that's going to thrive, designing these structures for specific measurements. So there's an opportunity for businesses, for entrepreneurs to get into this business of storing these structures. But no, there's there's not like a plan that the city has, if that's your question. I think it has two.
I know, we're super past. Is it like burning through?
Talk, yeah.
Used to do the policing on this type of situation.
Mhm.
Now it's in DOT, so it's all new for them, and it's gonna be a little bit new.
Yeah, so Bruce's point is Consumer Affairs used to be the enforcement agency of these type of things, but it's now DOT. Thank you so much, guys.
So Alexis Marnell for Parks and Culture. We had a few presentations this past meeting. United Palace presented about their outreach. They are sunsetting the spiritual arts arm of United Palace and will be concentrating on community and for-profit events. Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance also presented. Hispanic Heritage in the Heights Gallery is open, and gallery hours are Saturdays and Tuesdays, 1 to 5. There was a presentation on the forest restoration in Fort Washington Park by Stephen Forte. And we had 2 dog run proposals presented. We could not create a resolution because we did not have quorum. There is a proposition of a new dog run to be created on Edgecombe Avenue from 160th to 162nd Street. This will definitely alleviate the large issue we have with all the off-leash dogs that are happening at Roger Morris Park. Let's see, and also for Rocky's Dog Run, she's requesting support to divide that dog run for a large dog park and a small dog area. There was a considerable, I was happy to report there was a considerable amount of community folks in person and via Zoom. The biggest issue was people were in support of the development of the new dog run, to be called the Larry Neal Dog Run, in honor of the great activist and part of the Black Arts movement from the 1960s. The biggest concerns also were for Morris Jamel Mansion, asking for more transparency in their dissemination of information on what is going on with the restoration, and also to ask them to increase the amount of community outreach that they do, as many people are feeling isolated from that Morris Jamel Mansion. We did note that there is a digital divide in this neighborhood, and we do need to have more papering and bilingual flyers as well.
Thank you. I don't see his Zoom hands, but again, I'm gonna keep plugging. But Saturday when we go to the Morris Jamel Mansion, or if you can't go, like questions you have about that, send them to CMADI so we can ask at the mansion. We're gonna go on to aging with our VIP orchestras, the Mary Anderson.
My report is going to be very brief. I asked everyone to read the minutes of our last meeting. It was a very extensive meeting, and I set my assistant with really great notes. So, you know, our next meeting is going to be on December 7th, which is a week from Thursday. We're going to have a presentation from the Armory staff about programming, concentrating on what they have available for older adults in the community. So it's going to be interesting to see what maybe I don't even know what they have going on for us. So thank you.
Thanks, Mary. We're gonna move to right there, Marielle, Housing and Human Services.
Hi, everyone. So we had a pretty good meeting last month, earlier this month, excuse me. First, we shout out to Jay for working on the minutes, super helpful. We had 2 presentations, watching through. The first one was from CEO Greg Silverman of What's Our Campaign Against Hunger. Many of you are probably quite familiar with this organization. They're based out of the church on 6th Street. What kind of have their warehouse of services, and really kind of distribute food and work with community partners, you know, really big food pantry. So they provide some information on kind of, you know, how much they've done. So for instance, currently they reach 80,000 individuals and have community partner sites in about 29 across New York City. But they actually have a warehouse, at the old post office on 180th Street, which just opens. They're gonna have about 30 staff positions. They even offer the space to the community board, so I'll put that offline with you, Kathy, but also opportunities to volunteer as well, and to kind of give back. They themselves at that location will not be giving out food, but then will be a hub for the community partners that they work with. Clinics, so on and so forth. So what we really hope from all of you, if you could help, if you have networks with, you know, senior centers, food pantries, community organizations in our area, please let me know, because they're looking to connect with them again to serve as a touch point. We also had a presentation from Dr. Robbie Parks from Columbia University. They are leading research in public health, and is leading a study on indoor heat temperature. So they're looking for about 100 different families or apartments, so to speak, to install sensors in apartments to kind of get temperatures in both bedroom and living rooms. We have reporting, you know, a lot of companies are not having heat. But one of the things that also kind of came out of that meeting is in some cases there's too much heat. And so kind of, you know, it's an opportunity to participate in that study. I guess in terms of, you know, for the rest of the meeting, do look at the minutes. In terms of a forward look, we will have HPD present and talk about the process for request for proposal for an 100% permanent for the building site, 4095 9th Avenue, 218th Street, and between 218th and 220th Street. It's the former parking space for Charter Communications. Wayne will be connected on that, and we'll kind of take some of that forward. But this is an opportunity to really shape, you know, the developer, kind of how we will seek and identify the developer, but also community-based organization that we will work with. So ensuring that, you know, there's kind of minority-owned businesses involved, women-owned businesses involved, all those such things. The outreach that they will do in our community, really important. So I encourage you all to participate. And then lastly, and we'll also have a presentation in legal action as well. And then lastly, I do want to give another shout out to Michelle for organizing the tour with BRC. So this is our residents committee, and so we passed a resolution, if you recall, earlier this year for the Inwood Men's Shelter. It's one of the things, we're really also opportunity to have time, but I think we may try to find an opportunity to also schedule another tour in the future if there are members who want to go. Yeah. So happy to explain more.
Okay. Oh yeah, the hand went down, so we can keep going that one. Next up for folks on Zoom, we're gonna hear from Steve Simon on health and environment.
One of the latest COVID-19 data, as I always report these meetings, 113 new cases in our community since the health and environment committee met on November 2nd, as well as 2 additional deaths. Particularly striking to me is that on now and 3 of our zip codes.
You have some of the back.
132 people have now had COVID since the beginning of the pandemic. It's up now we're saying 103, and now those 3 zip codes, it's 102 people that had COVID. The hospitalization rate the last 20-day period that is available. We had relatively high rating in the code 32, 19.0, right in the city at 1.7. But on the other side, zip code 34 has such a low rate hospitalization rate that is I guess below 0 as we can make. I think I've got some stuff before and talking to the Ryan Health Center about a co-sponsoring and working with them on their mobile plan that provides free COVID and flu shots in the community. They need a lot of support from the community board to get this thing up and running and to get it publicized. So I'm hoping that when Jesus comes back, that we will have some substantial support to assist in getting these things, try to get the police to cooperate, we will reserve parking spots, and more importantly, to have members of the board spread the word so that people will actually come to get their help. Let me report that New York Presbyterian Hospital has finally announced after what is it now, 3 years, that they are going to use space of 5 beds at the Allen Hospital. You know, I'm going to say this is, I think, particularly appropriate since, as O.C. points out to me, Sally Fisher died just as of tomorrow, 1 year ago. This, of course, is a big issue that you can't do. But the work is not done. The hospitals are here to tell us whether all 30 beds are being reinstated. They tell us that they have to reconfigure the bed units, and there is no clear commitment right now as to how many beds or when they will be reinstated. So we still need to continue to push on this. At the same meeting that I attended at the hospital, they also told us that the new building, that the 13-story building that they're planning on Broadway, on 69th and on 70th Street, is going to proceed with the demolition next year. But they now reconceived what is in the building. It will now primarily be housing for medical students at Columbia, as opposed to employees and staff from the hospital itself. And the so-called guest hotel is now off the boards, and the child home is going to be located elsewhere. For many of us, we're still waiting to find out whether the new restaurant is open at the Google site. They tell us that we narrowed it down to 2 options, and I told please hurry up. The other thing is we've also announced that they're going to do a new building at 165th and Fort Washington Avenue. They have also will begin demolition next year on the Iron Street building and replace it with a fairly large building which provides comprehensive cancer care, and it also include the old Iron Institute. And Danny are talking about this. I hope that DOT is also going to design that inspection as well as the one in Blue South Drive. That is my report. Our next meeting is December 7th. I wish we could see the annual update on HIV/AIDS in our community, as well as a second presentation about a iron cancer program at the hospital. And then, Jacob, thank you for that.
You can repeat it.
Steve, how for COVID, how do we compare to the other community boards?
For COVID, how do we compare to other community boards?
In terms of the hospitalization rate, there are 177 zip codes in New York City. And for the last 28-day period, zip code 32 was ranked as number 44 in the city. So, you know, in the top third of all in the city, and yet zip code 33 was ranked at number 97. Zip code 40 was ranked at 91. So and the bottom of the city, and zip code 34, to my surprise, way down the list, not even has a measurable hospitalization rate. But we're behind the rest of the community boards in Manhattan and the city in terms of our vaccination rates. They're still running between 80 and 85%, whereas the rest of Manhattan is way up in the upper 90s. The city is not far behind. So that's why I want to see this mobile van. I want to see us co-sponsor that mobile van and try to convince as many people as possible in our community to go out and get the COVID vaccine. If you had a COVID vaccine in the past, you need the new one. You need the new updated vaccine. So you need to protect yourself, you need to protect your family, you need to protect your friends, you need to protect your neighbors and colleagues. So people need to get the new COVID vaccine, and they need to at the same time get the flu vaccine. And we can make that, this board can make that available to
help and add value to this family community, and I hope we, I hope we can do that.
Yep.
Okay, let me go as far as education. So last month was, we had a presentation by, Parks, which they spoke about, Acton Marina. And basically how they're making it more acceptable to youth in the community as far as, teaching youth how what it takes to maintain these marinas, and also what's being able to go on the water, you know, which is pretty cool on the boats, and how we're seeking nonprofits to actively and school like institutions to be able to share this resource and be able to engage the community by opening up the space to youth, particularly in the community, and speaking about the maritime school. And the individual representative spoke about how the maritime school changed his life, and now that led to the work that he's currently doing as far as like maintenance and marinas and water work that they conduct. So he spoke briefly about that. Well, not briefly, very thoroughly about that. We also had presentations from different partners in regards to the different federal programs that are within our communities, as far as some federal funding for something that seems to be similar to the Big Brother program. So that's interesting. We're gonna get more information about that next month as they will present and go and give us a much more thorough dive into that. As far as for this upcoming month, we will be looking at Senate Bill S213B and Assembly Bill A8583C. That's for this fake healthy food advertising to particularly to youth, and what type of ramifications, and there being ramifications for corporations that are basically saying it's healthy when it's a lie, you know. So we will be looking into that and possibly presenting a resolution next month. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, and we will, I was speaking to the committee about, we engaged in a conversation with various high schools in the community, so we will be having a public member from a local high school. We are creating the conditions in our committee to create a safe space for you to actually be able to engage in. So starting in December, we will have, what we would consider a youth advocate, to not only, because sometimes we get caught up in advocating for other people, and we should be able to empower people to advocate for themselves. So we'll be having a public member next meeting, that could be advocating for youth in local high schools. So that's what we want.
We got three more.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Heidi Guzman for taking the minutes. We had two presentations, actually had one presentation. The first was just an update. We've discussed that Committee Board 12 Land Use Committee and the Historic Districts Council has undertaken a landmark survey of Washington Heights and Inwood. And the intent of that survey is to get input from residents on what buildings or places they would like to see designated and the reasons why. The survey is available digitally, I believe as of October 26th, the community board has emailed it out. Hard copies are also available, and the strategy is to get the input, to compile it, and then to, with the support of our elected officials, approach LPC, because as you know, LPC has been very non-responsive to CB12's request for any evaluation for historic designation. So the intent is to build some broader constituency, get more input, and then work to get LPC to focus into this. We had a presentation by the Department of City Planning on the City of the Economic Opportunity Zoning Initiative. It is one of 3 citywide city of the zoning text amendments. Earlier this year, we passed a resolution on the carbon neutrality text amendment.
This text amendment, which was officially released on November 8th, had the deadline of January 8th. So at the December meeting, we will have to pass a resolution, if any comments we have on that. And then in the spring of next year, we expect to have the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity release. The intent of the City of Yes Economic Opportunity is to update and modernize the zoning regs to make it easier for businesses to do business and to thrive. That goal is fine, and in the context of the text amendment, there are 4 basic categories under which 18 resolutions or 18 proposals are to be considered. Some of them should be non-controversial, some of them, such as those related to nightlife and to allowing increased commercial activity on second floors, do require some thought. In the committee meeting, there's a lot of discussion about how the nightlife related zoning text amendments are going to be handled and to what extent city planning is getting input from residents. And one of the things that we recommended is not speaking to the mayor's office on this, which is what they're doing, but actually speaking to representatives of community groups, resident groups, because as you know, in the Dykeman area, one of the ongoing complaints is the degree to which restaurants generate noise, and restaurants turn into nightclubs. So modifying zoning to encourage more of that in any commercial overlay is going to impact our neighborhood quite a bit. Also, we thought there might be some conflicts between seeking to encourage more housing opportunity and allowing more commercial activity on second floor spaces. So there again, there needs to be further study. We'll pass a resolution, but the resolution may support some aspects of the text amendment and may question others. We do not have to say we accept all 18 proposals or we reject all 18 proposals.
So just to add to that, Wayne, it's a really, really big shift or proposal, I would say. And so at Borough Board, we also got the full presentation from DCP. So I have the deck. In the next newsletter, we'll add it. I definitely, we will be voting on this. So it's important that we all read through it, understand, and raise light. But yeah.
City planning will present it again
Yes.
at the December land use meeting.
Right. So December land use, save the date or watch the YouTube.
And birthday cake will be accepted.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay. Good to know. Thank you. December 6th, the fellow Sag. Oh, no, it's December 20. We got 3 hands, so we'll acknowledge all 3 before we move on.
Wayne, on your report, the City of Yes, you reported a vacancy rate for land of about 9%. How or who arrived at the figure? It is based on my assessment of Washington Heights. There are areas that have over 20%, where others they are probably in the 6%. So who is evaluating that?
That is the reason why the licensing committee and the business development committee in particular should take a close look at the presentation. I believe I emailed that to you. The numbers are what is presented by city planning. So we need to see whether their snapshot of what's happening in Washington reconciles with our understandings, just as we're saying, our understanding of what's happening vis-a-vis, nightlife and how it impacts residents, is different than what the mayor's office is saying. So I really encourage licensing and business development to take a close look at that presentation.
Thank you, Wayne. I was able to watch the YouTube video. Great stuff from that CAS. Just have 2 points. Just to answer your question, Tito. City of Yes and administration is using an app called Live XYZ. Live XYZ is a startup that city planning is using to more accurately depict vacancies. They have a kind of
that is, there's an open. So the app is called Live XYZ, you can download it on the App Store. But more enterprise sales are going on between city departments, which is where that figure is coming. My second point, Suwayne, can you include in your resolution specific areas that are being affected by the zoning? I know that there's some areas, obviously commercial use, but there's some areas that are going to be, that are industrial, that are kind of converting into commercial. Well, some commercial areas that are going to get some industrial. I think it's, I'm not too good with zoning, but I think that during the resolution, we should kind of classify where areas it's specifically these areas are going to be affected.
In the presentation that was made to the crowd.
One second.
So in the presentation that was made to CB12M, I believe I emailed it back to you. There are some slides that look specifically at what the impacts are in Washington and Inwood. So there are slides that show where the C1 and C2 zoning overlays. If there's any, there's no manufacturing area that's being converted to commercial. You may have greater flexibility in what you can do there, but there are maps that show specifically for CB12M, we asked for that, how the city of Yes would impact us, but it's affecting everything, you know, all 59 community districts, but depending upon what zoning is in specific districts, it will impact them differently. We do have, you know, information that shows for us, you know, where the areas that would be impacted by what's proposed.
Before we go to Daryl, can you just repeat real quick what was specifically the figure that Isidro was asking? Or board members asking on Zoom? The 6%, what was it? Oh, okay. So for folks in the Zoom, it was the vacancy rate, that the figure, there was a question about the figures of the vacancy rate.
Yep. And my suggestion is the presentation that was made to land use, which I shared with the office. I think it's send it to the entire board.
Yeah, that's.
Then everyone will have what I'm talking about.
Yes, thank you. And then also Deanna shared in the chat that I can say, it's being covered broadly. So there's another link for presentations that I can share too. Daryl. She wants 10,000.
You're getting your steps. Good evening, everyone. This will be quick from the bylaws task force. At our next, we covered portions of Article 10 at the last meeting, and then we will be discussing hopefully the end of Article 10, dealing with summer meetings, public hearings, and the executive session, as well as we're starting to tackle Article 11 regarding committees and their structure and process of working. That was it. Thank you.
It's our yielding time to Steve. You and I. I'm trying to make this short, huh? Hey guys, Nobles Crawford, Cannabis Task Force Chair. Shout out to Simari, Carmen, and our matriarch of the Cannabis Task Force, Mary Anderson back there. We had a great meeting this month, our first meeting, historic for CB12. Cannabis Task Force online, doing business on behalf of the community. It was fantastic conversation, really good attendance. We made quorum, that was huge. And with that, we discussed two key things. The first one, we brought this up in executive committee, was should we really rethink the requirements for potential retail outlets in terms of having a lease when they come in front of the board? This is a new commercial dynamic to the neighborhood. There's a lot of things at play, especially when it comes to the business of cannabis, especially when it comes to it still, unfortunately, being a Schedule I drug with the federal government, and therefore impacting banking and cash and all that stuff. It's a little bit different than licensing committees because booze is very much legal. So it's a lot easier to do things by the book. And so we had a really good conversation in the task force on maybe there's, we get a notary involved and there's like a, instead of like a letter of commitment,
what have you from the landholder, what have you. Anyway, brought this up with the executive committee. Really good conversation there as well. Thinking about scale, we only have, I think, one application that will be in front of our community, in front of the community and our committee in December. But eventually we're going to be like CB9, who's got 60. So we have to think about the scale by which we as volunteers are able to take in, these applications and really do good business by the businesses and also for our community. We're trying to put those things in place. And one of the biggest things was this conversation of, do they need to have a lease when they get in front of our committee? So what the executive committee came to in the conversation was, let's still go by OCM requirement, which is the Office of Cannabis Management. You need to have a lease to be able to be considered to, I believe, have a license. The laws, thank you, the final license, thank you very much. The laws change quite frequently. That's one thing that we know. But even all that being said, we're going to play it safer than sorry right now. Still require a lease to be signed to bring your application in front of our committee. And as we face challenges in the future of scale, we will certainly look to revise that if we need to. That was the first piece of business, and the follow-up for folks that might be listening in or want to look at the notes for this. Sorry, there were no minutes from the task force meeting. We are cannabis. We're a little bit late with those. It's my apologies. We will get better. And it was our first meeting. The second conversation we had that was super important too was just basically like around the application process and the actual how we put the application together. We went through every single line, and you have my word as chair. We're going to do that every single meeting, at least in summary, but we will be going through the application every single meeting. If there are questions, new people come to it. Everyone needs to know like what it takes to open up a retail cannabis dispensary in our neighborhood, and how we're trying to protect the law as our committee for the repertory nature of it. And it starts with the application process. So I ask you guys to definitely come to the Cannabis Task Force meeting, first Mondays every month. We start on time. We make quorum. And yeah, let's have that conversation, man. Let's do this. Thanks.
All right. Before we move to some where somebody will say something from the floor, I want to have two big announcements for board members, but also for the public who's still on and in the room. The December calendar is in the back. Some folks peeked. The holiday season affected, so please take notice that our general meeting is December 19th. And so things have been shifted around. January is also affected, so that calendar will be coming out mid-month as well. So just make sure to say that the links will be updated for December meetings, so you'll see that going out, and crossing fingers with some calendar holds. And then the last thing for board members, be on the lookout for our holiday party. We're gonna send the save the date by the end of the week. So just keep an eye out for that. All right. There's a motion to adjourn and a second by Liz and over. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks, folks, for being on and for hanging out.
Thank you, everyone.